In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Was implies past tense. The Word was with God means that spoken language was silence, was the source to all sound, was wholeness, was completion, was unification, which is God. God is one. And the Word was God because we were God, we were one, we were whole until we spoke that first word. This is why we're not actually birthing or being born, beginning, the moment we come out of the womb. We begin, we are born the moment that first word is spoken, because from that moment on, we learn this language, whatever it may be, because all language is made up. However, we construct an identity out of these words, out of these sentences. And words creates and goes on to shape our reality, everything from who we believe we are to where we believe we are. And this is why the spoken language word is the beginning. This is what is beginning and ending as man, as mankind. This is why that Bible verse, in the beginning was the Word, is called Word becoming flesh, because this is where we birth ourselves. We begin into the body. We begin this journey in the body, as the body. We birth something into this body which we can never find or see or catch. But it is through the belief of the spoken word and language that we begin to experience the world and everyone, everything in it, which belongs to a word, a title, a definition, person, place, and thing. And this is why the spoken word is the beginning of separation and the falling from heaven, from completion, wholeness, into what we call the dream world. We read the chapters of John, the verses of John in the Bible, and interpret it as only belonging to one person, one man, which was by the name of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. However, we don't realize this verse applies to every single one of us. Replace the he with him or her, replace the name John with your name, and you are literally reading the story of your own conception through the spoken word. In verse 6, he says, there was a man sent from God whose name was John. However, read this verse and fill your own name in instead. We do not and never have existed in our words or spoken language, which is why the beginning is the first word. This is where we birth out the world, we birth out the body, we birth out everything that is suddenly given a description and title which vastly limits the object itself. And this is what the spoon boy meant in the Matrix. Do not try and bend the spoon. That is impossible. Instead, only realize the truth. There is no spoon. Then you'll see that it's not the spoon bending, it is only yourself. Everything is a mental construct, which means your consciousness is that powerful to change the atomic structure of physical objects. And this goes back to atomic matter being 99.99999% empty space. We must ask ourselves, well, what's behind these objects that are completely empty space? It is your own consciousness that is directly shaping and affecting the object and the material world around you itself. And this goes back to beginning and end. If you have never began, you can never end. And we always say that we're a spirit, we're a soul, and the soul or spirit never dies. But you must go back to the beginning. If you cannot die, you cannot begin. You cannot be created. You cannot start from a starting point. And that's why infinity drives us so mad, because it has no trace, yet always is. It is undeniable, and that's why energy cannot be destroyed. Our greatest question as this human idea is, who put us here? How did we get here? Because we're assuming a starting point, a creation point, a trace of our beginning, our origin. But when you die before a physical death, you realize death is not real, nor is what you're calling the birthing, the beginning of yourself. And essentially, you are never born, never died, because you are the one you're calling God, which is in every incarnation. Everything is alive and in life itself. It is said that time is an illusion, so it brings you back to the question, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the black or the white? But this is only because we assume ourselves to be the false self, which we call the ego, which births, which begins. And since we have attached and constructed ourselves to this beginning, Naturally so, we go on fearing the ending of this word, this spoken language, of when this mind body ceases to exist, and so in the same fashion we are now. We're terrified because we don't want this to end. But this is because we are attaching to this illusory identity known as the ego that is separate from the whole, separate from God. We are not identifying as God, as the one that is never born, never died. We are identifying as the one existent in the Word. This is why the saying goes, no one sees what you see, even if they're looking at it too. This is why so many people are in persistent search of the shape of the earth. Deep down, we still believe we're a human being. We're this human idea that is began somewhere far out in outer space. But the final frontier and the final conspiracy is with you and yourself. This is how and why there are so many shapes of the earth. Seeing is believing. We're not actually seeing the earth, and the earth is not actually changing shapes. It is only ourself, our level of consciousness. While majority in the spiritual community want to connect to God or better be in tune or align with God, whatever word you'd like to use to decorate it, no one wants to be God. No one wants to realize they are it in that instantaneous moment. Because there is no process in death. There is no progress in death. You realize death, you realize your truest self, which is no self at all, for you're all of them, and in a very immediate and abrupt moment. It's not a process. And it's not something many people are commonly ready to accept. It is reality shattering. This destroys a lot of people, and they don't know how to handle it. This is why the majority of the spiritual community is about spiritual practices and not the ego death. True spirituality began from not wanting to believe in a God like religion does, but to know God. And the only way to know God is to know yourself and thus admit to yourself who you are not and never have been. We tell ourselves through such spiritual practices that we are getting somewhere, we're seeing progress, results. But again, there can be no result. You cannot become that which you already are. You cannot connect to that which you have always been. We are simply veiling ourselves from our truest nature, which is so simple yet harder to admit, because we have dedicated our entire lives to this illusion, to attaching and protecting this illusory identity we have constructed of ourselves. And we attach so hard to it that we fight to defend its survival, naturally so. However, who we're fighting to preserve has never existed. Beginning and end are one and the same. What you thought was your last breath is only your first, because you are not actually moving beyond this body. In a spiritual sense, you are everywhere, everything, and everyone. And when you know this, you know there is nothing to hold on to, which makes letting go of the ego, who we attach ourselves to, that much easier. We as the ego will ask ourselves, well, what happens after I die? What's next? And this is because we still identify and attach ourselves to the confines of time, to a sequential order. So we propose the idea that there will be a next or something after this realization of death, but death only bridges you into the true existence of life, which has no boundary. There will never be a next or an after or a prior, a beginning or an end. We will never attach ourselves to this idea of time again. All these forms of spiritual practice are essentially ways to change, alter, or better enhance your reality. However, there is only one true and pure way of doing so, and it is through the ego death, directly knowing who you are once and for all, by simultaneously letting go and admitting to yourself who you are not, which is a bitter pill to swallow. This is what's known as the ego death. However, it will bring you everything that you are seeking and fill in all the gaps of all your questions that you are looking for. And when you have this realization, you understand that the same person that wrote the book 1,000 years ago is the same person picking up the book and reading it through you today, which means you are the ancestors. You are the ancient Egyptians. You built the pyramids through all these people, and you are later discovering them through all these people and looking at them in such fascination However, they are not foreign to us, nothing is.